This is this. I guess now the third time I'm redoing this one with Courtenay Turner. I don't know how they cock up every time. But anyway, Courtney first came live to do my show on the Lost episode because her book with Patrick Wood here, The Final Betrayal, she has a lot of Tavistock dirt, put it that way. This is why I want to bring her on to explain Tavistock because I explain it very poorly to people. I'm going to tell you what I think it is, Courtney, and then you just correct me.
Okay.
I thought it was it branched off of something to study shell shock after World War One because they're like, why are these cowards don't want to go back to battle? And then they realized trauma is a good way to get people to remember stuff, all kinds of cool control methods based on trauma. That's where they really got into it. Then the Tavistock Institute kind of grew out of that under the guise of treating you for your what we would call PTSD now. It's a
Yeah.
disorder when you're like, all these people blew up and it makes me upset. There's something wrong with you. All right. So, is that not in a nutshell what it is? Am I oversimplifying it?
No, no, I mean that's those are some bullet points. I would put it that way. Those are some bullet points.
Now I'm
The trap.
communist, Islamicist. I should have said at the top of the show. I'm hardcore radical Islamic and communist now. I'm Islamunist, I think is the term. So
Well,
that's where I'm
that's a
looking through a
red green.
lens of that.
Yeah, that's the red green alliance, right? They
Hmm.
have a common enemy, and so the
Yes.
enemy of my enemy is my friend, and so they scratch each other's back quite often.
Yeah.
That's how the communists and the Islamicists are operating, and they have been really for several decades.
Yeah, I saw
So,
Rambo 3. Okay. All right, wait. So just
so
Tavistock, because
So
we
I
can
will
start. Yeah.
just to clarify, the book is not about Tavistock. I have
Oh,
done
yes.
several shows on Tavistock. I have written extensively on Tavistock. And yes, I go through, we'll go through that. But this book is The Final Betrayal: How Technocracy Destroyed America. And this is really about the regulatory infrastructure that has been put into place under the current Trump administration that is setting the that is setting the regulatory infrastructure to make technocracy possible.
Yeah,
And so
right.
we documented it in real time. So it was in real time. We were writing this book, and I was, I'd be like, "Oh, there's another executive order. What do I do? Do we put this in? Because I don't know what'll
Yeah,
happen."
I was
Like,
gonna ask, how did you know when to like? All right, we got to just publish it now because it's so developing.
yeah, I mean that's really Patrick has been, the OG on this. He was the one of the first to really break the reporting on technocracy to put this together, but he's been doing this since 1978, tracking globalist infrastructure with Anthony Sutton.
Oh,
The two
yeah,
of them rode
right.
trilaterals over Washington. And so he's really been the lead guy on
Wait,
this
were they
for.
both they were both trilaterals, really?
No, they were not
Oh,
trilaterals.
oh,
They were covering the
oh,
Trilateral
sorry.
Commission.
Because
They
all right, so you know how in that the band interview, that's the first thing he says is I was on the Trilateral Commission at age 30.
hmm Yeah. I wrote about that in the Gina U. Epstein article. It's called The Factory Reset. And it's a very long, I think the audio version of it is 4.5 hours. It's really a book. It's a very long article.
Yeah,
I
right.
I highly encourage people to at least skim it or listen to it if they don't want to read the whole thing. It will
Do you know
give
you was a
you.
video game designer?
Yes, Gina Yu is a video game designer. He was also a video game, theoretical teacher at Polytech
Mm.
University in Hong Kong. But I document, the reporting on his relationship with Epstein, and but more specifically, what I was really tracking is how I believe that Gina Yu solved the scaling problem rather that the Changing Images of Man and the Stargate project could not achieve. And that's what I think Gino Yu accomplished and was selling to Epstein. And so
Wait, so
I
scalability of what? The game or the currency element or all of it together? Like,
No, the currency element was very much what Epstein was involved with. I think it's very much why Epstein was so involved with Santa Fe Institute, and he pretty much said it in that Bannon interview.
right.
And that's, I think, largely what that whole Game B ecosystem is involved with. It's the
Hmm.
complexity science, which I hypothesize in that article is really just a rebrand of the New Age movement. So my
Yeah,
thesis is that, right?
I noticed. Yeah.
My thesis is that, the New Age movement got a lot of traction and then it got a lot of criticism. And so they couldn't just keep running with that. They did a little splinter with the New Thought movement that Oprah really
I was going to ask
popularized.
New Thought, the Think and Grow Rich and Trump. Everybody loves that.
Yes,
Hmm.
Vincent Norman Peale, and yes, that
Secret.
whole group. Yeah. So the New Thought people are very similar in ideology and concept to the New Age, which is really just a rebrand of Theosophy, which is basically a rebrand of Neoplatonism. But the difference is that they have a stronger focus on mentalism, which is the first principle of Hermeticism. So the idea that
Mentalism, as okay. Oh, all is noose or whatever. Okay.
all is in the mind,
Yeah, yeah,
exactly.
yeah, yeah.
Yes. So but Oprah popularized it. So then from there, they needed a new vernacular that had more kind of scientific and academic credibility. And I think that's what the purpose of complexity science was. So now it sounds scientific and mathematical, but when you really break it down, and I've done extensive shows and articles on complexity science, the one that might be most useful to really kind of grasp this is the technocratic philosopher, where I analyze Jim Rutt's. He has a theory of metaphysics, and he basically redefines metaphysics, and he calls it a scaffolding. It's essentially a scaffolding for complexity science. He calls himself a complexitarian. So
So
it's
what's
this.
complexity science? What is
So
that
it's
supposed to be? That's is
it's
that
essentially the science of emergence. Emergence is the key word, but really what they're trying to do is create predictive modeling for emerging.
right?
And you can't, because if
No, right,
emergence is truly a phenomenon, then you can't. And Epstein actually said that, right? He
right.
said
He
that they
did say that.
wanted
Yes.
to, he wanted to model the new financial market, but he said the problem was pesky human nature. He couldn't. And but
Hmm.
what do they have now to solve that problem is AI. And that is why it is so important to them
How?
to switch everything over to the digital financial system.
Well, how does
That is
AI solve
why,
that?
because AI becomes the choke point. They can control through
Oh,
using predictive models and choke points through AI, right? Because everything becomes about permissions and denial. And it's the code that does the permissions and denial. And this is really what this book is setting the path for. It's showing you the regulatory infrastructure that will pave the way for tokenization. And once we get to asset-based tokenization, that is where everything really is in a choke point. People think about it in terms of like social credit systems. I call it a cybernetic organism because it's so much more encompassing than
how about
even.
that clavicular? All these looksmacks are Twinkies that are tokenizing every last part of like I don't know attraction,
Yeah,
but you can see some psychopath crypto billionaire's mind behind that. It just
for
really
sure.
radiates out of it very clearly.
Well, I mean, as Patrick Wood wrote, the technocracy and transhumanism are the evil twins, right? So you really do need the transhuman agenda in order
Mm.
to have a successful technocracy. And this goes back to my whole
Because we got to
being.
meet the fucking thing halfway and be half a. Oh God. Because we got
No,
to be half a fucking iPhone.
yeah, no, we don't want to meet them halfway at all. But
That's
this
what the
is
plan is. Like you have these two cords you're trying to plug in, and one of them is like, look, the AI is not that good, and I need you to be more like it. It would make a good connection. The whole thing is to do that.
Well, I think it's through incentives, right? Through incentive structures. So
The
that's why I
nudge.
say permission, yeah, nudging, permissions, and denial. So nudging is part of it, but it's also just that the code will essentially determine what is accepted, right?
Mm.
So whether you're, access denied or whether it's a green light, whether your card can be used, your token is permitted. And you don't need a central bank digital currency for that to be implemented.
They've
So
already
I think,
implemented it. It's I already see it with people that they got to make their money. They can only use certain channels to get paid. I mean, that's been
right.
going on for years now. It's already
It
there.
it is, but not it's not mass scale. So
Oh.
there's channels where, I mean, MasterCard and Visa already have access to deny. We've seen
Mm-hmm.
that. We saw that with J6, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that there are channels where it is there. And certainly some of the cryptocurrency already has that capacity, but it isn't operating on mass scale. And that I personally think that's why it's so important for them to implement the Clarity Act. Right now, it's at like the poly market bets it at like 40%. So
What
there's
is
a lot
Clarity
of.
Act?
So the Clarity Act was actually initially inside the Genius Act. They took it out of the Genius Act because there was so
Mm-hmm.
much pushback from the banks. Now, even Jamie Dimon is saying he's against the Clarity Act. The reason for this is because the Clarity Act is what enables the tokenized issuers. So, like the digital issuers, digital coins. So, like for instance, Trump's USD1, the World Liberty Financial, which he
Mm-hmm.
branded the truth dollar, to
Oh,
market it to
that's.
libertarians as
I
your
forgot about the truth
anti-cancellation.
dollar. Oh, should I
There,
got in on that?
But now, with if the Clarity Act goes through, and I just saw an article, actually Patrick just sent it to me this morning with I think last night, but with Trump pushing them for the Clarity Act. And I think the reason is because he's got this USD1. He stands to make trillions of dollars off of every transaction.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So this is what the Clarity Act will do. But if you make money off each transaction, you
Mm-hmm.
also become a choke point. And right now they've already done this with the stock exchange and the two rail system. I wrote a whole article on that. And that it becomes
What do you mean?
essentially a
The high
clearinghouse.
frequency traders versus somebody else? What do you mean? Is that what you mean by two rails?
So like there will be a path for the digital currency on the stock
Oh,
market,
okay.
and then
Yeah.
also for the traditional market, but they're going to end up converging is where, so that's why I
So you
call
just
it the
need
two
what? A
rails.
few more like rug pull polls for everybody to be mad and say we got to regulate this, and then you got another train track piece that you need, right?
I don't know if it's so much about regulation. I think it's more about capture. So I think that they want to make it so the tokenization becomes asset based. So right now, most people think of tokens, they think of it payment based, like in video game. Now we're back to Geno U, right? The
Mm-hmm.
gamified society, and we already have that with the fitness trackers. People can make money off of their steps, and
They
so
can.
yeah, there are like different apps where you can compete and make money off your steps, and
Where
so
does
it's
the
this.
money come? What I don't I don't understand that. What are they? Why? How do
I
you move that work? What's
I
even the
I think
scam?
I don't know that it's a scam. It's more like a betting gamified system. But I think that that conditions you. And I'm not saying that they're intentionally conditioning you, but I think that it does. It conditions you for this kind of a tokenized gamified
Yeah, of
society.
course it does. I mean, it
Yes.
is that. It 100% is doing that. Well,
Yes.
yeah. Well,
That's the
look, I've been
result.
hitting
So
myself with a hammer
I
to look
can't
for that.
say
So
for sure that there's one like called Step Bet is an example. I mean, there are many of these. So it's just an example off the top of my head. But
yeah,
I'm not saying that Step Bet, just to use that as an example, is intentionally trying to program you. They're probably just trying to make money and they're just
yeah.
trying to grow branding, right? That's what they're doing. But the result is, yes, it becomes a conditioning for this type of gamified tokenized society where you become part of the cybernetic organism. And so the other people can exploit that.
Yeah.
And people, right? So this is how this spin becomes very relevant. Spin is a segmented polycephalous integrated networks. This
Okay.
was, they had an Appendix A of the Stanford Research Institute Changing Images Man document. And I go through that pretty extensively in the Factory Reset, the article with Geno Yu, because that's what my theory is that he was solving the scaling problem. And he brings the changing images of man essentially to fruition. But in that, at the appendix, they talk about this spin concept. And I think we see it all the time. This is this idea of convergence. So you've got these many different institutions, organizations that have overlapping
Hmm.
shared worldview, metaphysics, funding apparatus, right? They're not necessarily all convening together in a smoke-filled room plotting, but it ends up converging to the same place.
Well, they call them spheres. They all call. There's a whole economy of like, I don't know if they're like shills or they're just like stupid, but there's like people that their whole thing is based off of like the Rogan sphere because
Right, right. The
Trump won
Rogan
the
School.
election, so there's got to be some cutout doing whatever where they're like, it's like some Democrat funded something that they're not gonna call out Trump for the things that they would have also done. They're gonna go after like the Rogan sphere, whatever the fuck that is. It's nothing I have ever heard Joe say or anyone else say.
Well,
Except
I would say Rogan was adjacent to the intellectual dark web, and he very much
right. Well, those they
flat.
call them spheres now. It's so weird
Yes,
and occultic, and it's been for a while. Used to hear
yes,
about the manosphere and the fucking.
right. So these
It's all
various
horse. Yeah,
spheres, but I do think that he platformed a lot of this intellectual dark web,
yeah.
and I think that he's not necessarily like some witting operative. I don't know that. I can't
Just
prove
started
that.
winning. First of all, the concept of platforming. I want everybody watching this to
Yeah.
understand. Anybody just even says it, shut the fuck up about platforming. I hate that millennial talk so much. Of course you platform. If Osama bin Laden wanted to come on a show, I would have him on my show. I mean, if he's somehow from heaven. I'm
Sure.
an Islamo communist. That's why I say he's in heaven. But everybody, like,
But there's
yeah,
also the idea of incentives. So we're back to this kind of cybernetic organism kind of concept, right? So you know that certain things are going to be rewarded, that you will get more clicks, shares, likes, funding for certain things. And it may not even be conscious like that, but that's how it works, right?
well,
People
right.
realize that
Here's
certain
a good
things
example
get.
of Joe, though. Joe will have on Dave Smith and Douglas Murray, a guy he likes Douglas Murray.
Mhm.
He'll let anybody on and platform them. Again, anybody out there who's using the term platform, I want you to put two forks on a table and headbutt them.
But I
Don't
don't
ever
know
say
that
it
he'll
again.
let.
Not you. I'm
I
telling
don't know.
everybody else out there. The problem is when they give you a script to read. So, for example, Kamala fucking
Mhm.
Harris,
Eh,
he could have gone on his show, but they
mhm.
wanted to give him a pre-approved script. BB fucking Netanyahu wanted to go on the show. Larry Ellison tried to pressure him into putting BB on.
Mhm.
Okay. And he's like, what? And he goes, and he would have had him on. He wouldn't have had no problem, but they don't let you just talk. They give you a
Right.
script of add copy points. So the only problem that there is, and that's the incentive thing you're talking about. Now, the thing you're talking about where people know they're going to be rewarded, I don't fucking do that, and Joe don't do that, and only punks do that. And I notice a lot of people assume other people, like every Jeremy from the quartering thinks other people are like him. A
Mhm.
fucking hollowed out fucking husk of the Kleepote. That's my Kabbalah training. That was
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah.
The only
Yep.
problem is when I got to do an advertisement, not tell you it's an advertisement,
Mm.
but as far as platforming, that came out of fucktard fucking higher education back like what 12 years ago. And every time I heard, I wanted to ground someone's face in the fucking pavement. Platforming, fuck you, not you. I'm yelling at everyone I've ever spoken to for the last 15 years.
Well, I know you say he'd platform anyone. I don't know. See if he'll platform me, and then maybe I'll have a
Yo, I'll
different
talk to
perspective.
anyone as long as I am interested in it. Okay, and
Sure, sure.
it's not a fake thing. Like you
Yeah.
could tell who's a fake. You could tell Tim Pool's a fake. You don't have to be a genius.
Well, we also have evidence that he was part of the tenant media scandal. I mean, that was exposed. So we
What
have.
is that the Russian thing?
Hmm.
Oh
Yep.
yeah, it's so funny. He's always influenced by Russians, either Russians or the ones you can't call them Russians because it's anti-Semitic. Yeah, he's a real
Who?
sack of shit. That guy, and also, I think it's very suspicious how he was at every major civil unrest event around the world for. Because I worked for Vice. Guess what? They don't pay. Okay, you
Hmm.
getting your money out of them was almost impossible. So
Yeah.
he just had money to go around the world doing that on his own dime. How? That is some billionaire back during Occupy Wall Street times. There's probably some
Right.
billionaires done, and I could see taking. I just sold a show called The Cutout to Emergent Order. That's a libertarian like Daily Wire or something. I guess they have Dad Saves the World podcast. They
Mm.
talked, and And I,
David
it, I,
Daily Wire is definitely not libertarian, but
what'd
yeah,
you say?
Daily Wire is definitely not
No,
libertarian,
I
but
know,
yeah,
but if
yeah,
they're instead of being Daily
right,
Wire,
yeah,
it was a libertarian joint.
yeah, sure, sure,
It's really whatever the rich person owns a place, their feelings as the that's what all these places are.
right.
So the place I sold a show to, the lady's like really into comedy. So she's like, I don't care if it makes money, we have to control it. It's funny, we got to control it. All right. So I could see getting funding and how easy that is, but I'm not going to lie about shit in front of my face, like right, like a genocide. Let's say you notice how that's a thing people lie about a lot.
Mhm. Well, I don't know if people lie about genocide,
Well, they say
but
it's not a genocide. But here's an example of a lie. It's Gaza is not a genocide. It literally is by every definition. Well, there's only one definition from people that were in the fucking Holocaust, and it is a genocide. I had to be on Jimmy Dore show seeing this shit for however long this has been going on, and then I hear this is why I fucking hate Jeremy from the Quartering. He's a nothing, but this is why I hate him. I'm watching the most depraved shit I've ever seen in my life. Not because there's being exposed. How would you expose it? Reporters get shot by them, so you couldn't expose it. The IDF bragging about it on TikTok is what we were watching. These psychopaths were bragging about what they were doing. So that's how word got out, and Israel kind of lost their, and now they're having a little hissy fit and buying. I guess the great Larry Ellison's buying up. One Jew owns the media. It's not. That's not Jews running it. One Jew.
one Jew,
You'd be
yeah.
lucky if it were multiple. Anyway, I got off topic because I'm so upset about the concept of
I
black
think
women.
Ellison to me is a technocrat long before he's a Jew of any kind.
He's a
Uh,
Satanist, I would say, a Hasatanist in Larry
well,
terms.
I don't know if he's if he's an overt Satanist. I could see him doing the devil's work. I mean
All
that
of them are overt. Yo, I just talk. Talk to that Curtis Yarvin guy. You know him?
I'm very familiar with him. Yes,
So he was interesting to talk to. I liked him. I would
we
talk to
have
him
a
for a
whole
while.
chapter on him in
Yeah,
here.
he ain't no mastermind of shit though. He's like one of these smarty pants guys that the same way people like certain artists, they like these smarty pants guys that say things that make them feel good about being lizards, right? So that's what his shit is. It's like a thing. Well, eugenics, you know what? We should think about eugenics again. Oh, you know what? Eugenics is not so bad. They all got the same fucking thing at the end of the day, and they just find new ways to say the same thing over and over again. It's unbelievable. All of them got weird dicks too. I don't know why that is.
Well, Yarvin's ideas are, I mean, pretty specific. And the Dark Enlightenment has a huge influence on the current administration and Silicon Valley. The Dark
I,
Enlightenment is, I mean, he explicitly said that, the most humane alternative to genocide would not be to liquidate the wards, it would be to virtualize them, which would, of course, make them go insane,
what do you mean
except that
virtualize?
they
Wait, yeah, virtualize means what? Plugging you into the thing, or like
but into the metaverse, yeah. So essentially, he would put them to a virtual reality that they could not escape.
we don't have that now?
No, you don't have people sitting in cells in a virtual reality. That is
Uh,
what he suggested.
I mean, not with computers, but be like, well, the
No,
AI, the AI. How will we know? Nobody knows the fuck's
yeah, but
real.
he was very explicit about it. I could find the exact quote, but I mean, it's
Well,
that
so
is
these
essentially
little, so it's the same as that other Goblin guy from the
here it
West.
is.
Yeah.
Here it is. It's from his 2008 blog on patchwork. It was called Patchwork: A Positive Vision. I don't think it's a very positive vision, by the way.
Hmm.
But this is, kind of the idea of the SovCorp. It was GovCorp. He renamed it SovCorp. This is very similar to like the network state concept. He says, however, it helps us to describe the problem we are trying to solve. Our goal, in short, is a humane alternative to genocide. That is, the ideal solution achieves the same result as mass murder, the removal of undesirable elements from society, but without any of the moral stigma. Perfection cannot be achieved on both these accounts, but we can get closer than most might think. The best humane alternative to genocide I can think of is not to liquidate the lords either, metaphorically or literally, but to virtualize them. A virtualized human is in permanent silent solitary confinement, waxed like bee larva into a cell, which is sealed except for emergencies. This would drive him insane, except that the seal contains an immersive virtual reality interface, which allows him to experience a rich, fulfilling life in a completely imaginary world.
Yeah, that's hardcore Luciferian. And I know for a fact all the San Francisco buddies he has and a couple of baby mamas are deep into that shit because it's San Francisco. There's a
Hmm.
fucking nest there. So all that shit is just dressed up. It sounds very much to me like what Mark Passio told me about when he was on. You know
Hmm.
Mark Passio?
Yes.
It's exactly what fucking Satanists say. They like New Age and New Thought, and they like solipsism. That's their big one, is to push
Well, there are overt Satanists, there's Luciferianism, and then there's people who think they're doing great things that are, I would argue,
that are also
aligned with
Satanists. It's a look. It's like as Christian is as Christian does. You know. So I don't give a shit about your identity you gave yourself. You could just see how someone behave. I always say I'm not a Christian because I'm not, because I mostly do not behave like a Christian. But if if I die, like, hey, that guy act like he said he wasn't, but he kind of acted like one. That's cool. I'd rather be that than someone who said I was Christian and
Yeah.
I'm, at fucking a TPUSA hypno rally listening to Jack Posobiec. Did you see that shit? They do
Which
hypnotic
one?
induction on people. It's straight
Yeah.
out of Zoolander.
Yeah. I've seen it. I saw the Super Bowl, which was halftime. It was just like one was just super dark, and the other one was basically Luciferian with patriotic colors, essentially.
Yeah,
But yeah,
well, I mean,
I have a lot of theories on Turning Point. I mean, I don't have direct evidence for it at this point. I do have a lot of theories on it. I'm
well,
working
Paul
on a
Vallely's involved. I mean, that's a good tip off, I would say.
yes.
That's a huge tip off
Yeah.
of what is. Also, their doctrines are absolutely Luciferian theosophy horseshit. All of them. All
Well,
that dominionist shit is.
They're Nar,
Yeah,
right?
Nar is
They do have
Luciferian. That is not. That's like how Mormons are a fucking coven. The left hand path ones know. The right hand path ones are cattle. The ones that don't have hot beverages. I guess it keeps the meat fresh. I don't know what it does, but those ones don't know shit. And then the one on the left's called the left hand path of God. And I can't recommend J.R. Sweet's book enough because I've heard this story come up over and over again about the fucking Mormons. There's a left hand path of them, and NAR. What the hell is it?
NAR is not are not Mormons. They're New
No, I know they're
Apostolic Revelation.
Luciferian the same way. They're
Yeah.
100% out of New Age fucking bullshit. I'm trying to remember the guy's channel, but it was like leaving. It's like leaving NAR or something, and
Right.
he's a guy who's from that movement, and he has the whole history documented of it. It's very interesting because it's all these.
We've got it documented in here. So yeah, we cover
You,
NAR.
you got the
We
Avok Hagobian
we
Palm Springs
cover
thing.
no, we don't cover that, but we cover what
Wow.
NAR is. I mean, NAR is and we don't
Well, the
need
William
to
Branham thing you're talking about, right?
William Branham.
William Branham is where NAR comes from. He came out of
Yeah,
Canada.
yeah,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah. But it's a new apostolic reformation, and essentially they believe that there's. It's kind of like Gramscian, actually. Like they believe that there's the seven mountain mandates, that they're these pillars of society, and they
Yeah,
need to infiltrate them to bring about the
that's
Antichrist.
Alice Bailey shit as well. That's in the externalization of the hierarchy. And
It's very similar. It's a rebrand, and there are nuanced differences. It's not exactly the same, but there's a
if
lot
you're
of
gonna give me
parallels.
these numbers, and then I'm watching General Flynn, that fucking creep, calling for the seven rays. Well, I already know about that fuck. Him and McChrystal are in the same network. They're not good. They're not good people.
So McChrystal is what my article on Turning Point is about. So there's McChrystal was he did the Teams of Teams book, which is about the human terrain systems. And Erica Kirk's mom has a company. It's called E3 Tech.
Hmm.
And E3 Tech used to have on the front page of their website when they were marketing what their special, capacity is, they said it was human terrain systems and cultural linguistics, which is essentially human terrain system.
Are you
And
saying terrain, human terrain system?
human terrain systems, yeah. This
What is?
is Stanley McChrystal's blueprint when he was in Afghanistan,
Uh
right?
huh.
And it's essentially it's very similar to like Operation Phoenix or Jade Helm was kind of a
Oh, this
similar.
guy knows a two hop system. That they're this guy knows a guy, and we can network him and then do weird shit. That okay?
They infiltrate culturally, right? And
Right.
so they're subverting, but through cultural infiltration. And he wrote that, and it's all about decentralized cultural infiltration.
Wow.
So but it very much looks like he's taking he brought it home. He did the defeat disinfo operation, and that's proven. That's not speculation.
What is defeat disinfo?
Defeat disinfo was an operation using artificial intelligence and algorithms to target Trump supporters in the 2020 election. And McChrystal was involved with that. And Flynn was involved with it too, actually, because Flynn and
Yeah,
McChrystal have worked together. They were colleagues in the military.
yeah. Well, they run
But
a lot of Monarch
McChrystal's
assets.
yeah, so so the human terrain systems, which that's what his Teams of Teen book was all about, but it was shut down in 2013 by the American Anthropology Association. They deemed it unethical. Very
Really?
simple. Yeah, it was deemed human, unethical.
I mean,
Uh,
all that was is a thing they always do that, but they're like externalized. I mean, just like it's an externalization of the thing they do. Like we want to do this in the open, the thing we've always done. We want to do
yeah,
it and
but
just like torture. We want to make that legal. Of course, we have always tortured, but now we want to just like really talk about how we
yeah.
torture. We want to tell
Yeah, I
stories at
mean,
parties about it.
they weren't so much torturing. It was really like very subversive kind of infiltration that they were doing by learning the culture and by subverting it from within is
Well, that would
essentially what they were.
explain the child, the boy, with bells on shit in Afghanistan, because that scumbag McChrystal is a piece of shit. Watch Nathan Reynolds talk about it. I talked to him on the phone about it. He was freaked out that he mentioned McChrystal because he didn't know who the guy was that he had threatened. But I would go listen to his story because it's very believable to me, knowing what else these fucks have done.
Well,
There's nothing too fucked up that I wouldn't believe. In fact, I think that they should prove all my worst ideas of what they've done. They should have to disprove them, is what I think.
so this isn't like I'm not going to make, some sort of giant leap with this, but I think it's worth exploring. And this is what I posit in this article that I have not finished. It's like I don't know. It's like almost 100 pages now. It's a very long article. But it's so Erica's mom worked at this company E3 Tech, and they were advertising human terrain systems and cultural linguistics. And now when you go, it's very like whitewashed and it's like
Yeah,
just,
right.
cybersecurity, and they've taken that's not such a big deal. A lot of companies
Yeah.
rebrand. They obviously decided that was better marketing. People were catching on.
Hmm.
But what was really strange to me is that when you go to the Wayback Machine, you can't find it because it's a tech company. They use a robot TXT blocker, and the Wayback Machine honors that. So
Oh,
they
that's Taylor Lorenz's
obviously,
uncle or somebody owns that. You know that? That's why she got her stuff taken off the Wayback Machine because her
I,
uncle runs that company.
oh, that's it. I didn't
Or
know
her for
that.
her
That's
dad, some relative of hers.
some relative. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, so I have the screenshots. I have all the archives of it.
Hmm.
And I just think it's very interesting that they went to that length. They obviously don't want people to know
You
that
have the
that's what they
archives
did.
of it though. You have them still.
I have the
We should show.
archives.
Can they see it on your Substack? Where can we see this?
I haven't published it yet, but I
Oh, oh,
will.
oh. Okay, okay.
Yeah, I'm working on it and I do have all of it archived, but I want to be I do my best to be very diligent in my work where, where I'm positing theories, I make that very clear. Where I'm
Hmm.
showing direct evidence, I make that very clear. I really do my best not to just make this one sweeping kind of grand conspiracy theory because I think that undermines the work.
No, yeah. I rely
Yeah.
on you doing the work that you do, and all my friends at my think tank, Turning Point Sam Tripoli. It's just a group text, but I said, hey, all these people do real work because I'll make every one of those leaps. Fuck these motherfuckers. So I like having access to good work so I can make
Okay.
wild fucking accusations. I don't have no credibility. I don't. I don't give a
Right.
fuck. And also, I'm an Islamo radical. What did Jackson Hinkle call it? A MAGA That was a bad. That was not a good phrase. But I'm that. I've
Yeah.
been
Yeah.
radicalized in the last 3 days.
Oh, well, all right. So that's the technocracy. They're related because this is really the idea. The whole idea of technocracy is hinged on this idea of
Yeah.
transhumanism, which is contingent on this notion, the being versus becoming, right? So this idea that we are like these, engineered substrates to be molded into no,
Hmm.
right? That's the becoming model. And then there's
The
the
original
being.
sin is what it is. That's what transhumanism is. That's the original sin. That's what that story's about. Well, you'll become like God. You'll be becoming
You'll be
instead of the thing you
exactly.
are. You'll become something better. You should do my
Mm,
mystery system, and then
yes.
whatever That's the stories. Just are repeating patterns. All of them.
Yes. Yes. I have a whole thread on that actually, going back to the Garden of Eden on Twitter.
You
Um,
do.
yeah.
What do you think that is? I'm genuinely curious because I really, I don't know exactly what to make of it besides like I can infer certain things, but I don't. I've always been like, what? Like, what is the fruit in the tree? Like, what is the fruit? I know the sin is trying to be transhuman, basically, right? Because you
Well,
said,
it's trying to be like God, right?
yeah, that's
Yeah.
transhumanism.
Well, it doesn't, I mean, it encompasses way more than transhumanism. I think transhumanism is a manifestation of that. It's the
It's on
end.
the way to singular or whatever the fuck Arthur C. Clarke and his weird space devil alien pedo book. Oh, Childhood's End. Oh my God, what a title! Like Earth gets molested, basically, he could have called it. And then
Yeah.
these devil aliens who are secretly
Have
helping
you
everyone.
have
You,
you read Space Relations?
oh yeah,
Donald
oh
Barr's.
my yes, it's very hard to get through. You
Yeah.
would think a book about space sex slavery would not be that boring. You would think that I wouldn't have had to concentrate. It was easier to read Tragedy and Hope than that book.
Yeah, no, so that's Donald Barr, who is Bill Barr's father. Bill Barr is the one who hired Jeffrey Epstein at
Mhm.
Dalton High School. I almost went to Dalton, actually.
Really?
Yeah,
That's
because
where
I grew
Jason
up.
Giorgiani went, and he saw Epstein there picking up some
Oh,
girl
wow.
he knew. He said
Yeah.
yeah,
But,
I
but he
don't know.
was a college dropout at the time, and Bill Barr hired him to teach math and science. Yeah, math and
What's the
physics, I
camp
believe.
where they, what's that camp where they, Epstein had a lodge in? But it's definitely young,
Camp Mystic.
no, yeah, well, no, Mystic's the one down here, Interlaken.
Oh.
Where Maria Bamford went to that. So I think the Epstein Lodge. That's why is she like that. Well, that's why. Uh, uh, but you could see Barr, not the writer of Space Relations. What's the son? Is it James? Who's the one that's the son of that guy of Bob
So it's Bill Barr, and
and
then Donald Barr is the father.
Donald? So
Hmm.
they were in camp together, but the picture that is fucking young Donald Barr. He's unmistakable looking. It's
Yeah.
unbelievable how much you can immediately tell that's Donald Barr. He has the same stupid like fat face. And you see Epstein there.
Uh-huh.
Isn't Epstein? That's in the files, I think, right? Isn't Epstein like they say some blue collar kid from Coney Island, but that's horseshit, ain't it?
I don't know. I haven't found any evidence otherwise, to be honest.
Well, they might. Okay, they might not have money, but that name Epstein is not a nobody name. They've been attached to the fucking Rothschilds for quite some time, and that's in the
There's
emails.
so I looked into that theory. There are a
Yeah.
lot of holes in that theory. There are a lot of holes.
Why
This
are
is
they
what I
saying
mean.
it?
Yeah, this is what I mean. Because there is an Epstein family, right? And but there's
Hmm.
no trace of lineage. This is what I mean about the sweeping kind of leaps.
What would the trace of lineage be too? I'm always curious about that because I've
Well,
seen that.
you would see a direct line, a family tree. There is none. There's like this. There's these twins, and there's possible relation. They don't know how they're related. It's a leap.
Well,
I'm
let's
not
say.
saying
Okay,
I,
let's
I'm
say.
not.
Well, I just
To
want to know.
me,
Maybe you know better
well,
about
to me,
this.
it's like, when you say, I mean, Tavistock, right? The Tavistock was initially the donation was actually like the the Duke of Bedford, who's a part of the Russell family, right?
Right. Hmm.
So
Oh,
now,
that's right. I keep forgetting that. Okay, go ahead.
yeah, so this was the 11th Duke of Bedford in 1920 for the Tavistock Clinic. He donated the area, like, and the building for the shell shock therapy research, right? Now, there's this kind of potential speculation that he's connected to the Russell Trust, right? The one who was the relative of our who started Skull and Bones with our
How
former
about Jehovah
relative.
Witnesses I grew up in and Blair White Russell? Blair White, Blair White, her family
Mhm.
is the Russells.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
they're fucked up. She came on the show and told me about it. She went to school named Black Pyramid in a fucking black pyramid in Northern California.
Well,
It's like
and
a
that's possible,
transhuman
but
something.
to me, we don't have any evidence that the British Russells and the Skull and Bone Russell Skull and Bones was started by Russell and Taft. Taft was related to our
Right.
President Taft, right? But we don't have any direct evidence. I'm not saying that it's not possible, but
Oh
this
yeah,
is
no, I'm sure
where,
you don't. You look,
yeah.
those cults like the Children of God, and they'd
Mhm.
on purpose, and every victim of this shit that I've ever spoken to or I've ever seen talk about it, they
Mhm.
take the kids and switch them around to not their mom and dad on purpose to make them not have human connections. It's cult tactics that are done in
Mhm.
a lot of cults. So
Yeah, I'm very,
yeah.
I'm very familiar with the.
So you're not going to see a record of a thing. Listen, I believe that chick that says she's Epstein's fucking niece and Shia LaBeouf's sister. I believe that, bro. And that's exactly how that would work. These are
Mhm.
witch families. They are into that shit. And I can't even believe what I believe at this point because they are
Well,
operating as if it's all
this is
real.
what I will tell you because I grew up right outside New York City, and almost all of
Where?
my friends out of like high school went into Wall Street. So yes, there are some who
Where'd you grow
are.
up?
I grew up in Englewood Cliffs, New Jersey. I actually
Okay.
went to school with the Finks,
With the who?
like with the Finks.
Like Larry
So
Fink?
yeah, like Larry from like my sister dated the
Wow.
youngest one. Yeah, so like yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So I mean, I know these people, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
they're not what you think. I mean, there are families who are doing dark, like occult stuff. The Finks are not that. The Finks are like they're driven by money.
Well, that's
That's what
dark
that's all
occult
about.
stuff, by the way. That's what
Yeah,
it is. Yeah.
but they're not doing like SRA stuff with their children.
Well, I don't know
I
anything
will bet
about. I've
I
never
will
heard
bet
anything about
money on
them.
that.
Other than that
Yeah.
guy's a
But
dickhead,
I'm
I've
just
heard nothing
saying there's
else.
a lot of leaps that get made in this, and I'm like, there's
Well, I
some room
can't
to
say the
be.
names. Here's why I'm
Yeah,
making leaps, just out
yeah,
of people I personally know,
yeah,
whose names I'm
yeah.
going to say
With
on this.
okay, yeah, and that's fair. That's
Uh,
fair.
but I'll tell you off. I'll tell you off. That's my other podcast called. I'll tell you off camera.
Okay, okay. Fair
No
enough.
one ever gets to hear it. uh, the amount of foul shit that I know about a lot of these fucking names doing is unbelievable. I
Yeah.
I would never have, and the people telling it to me, it's like a tragedy and hope where the dude doesn't think it's bad what he's talking about. Like they
Carol
think it's
Quigley. No, yeah, exactly. He thought
yeah.
it was wonderful,
So
and he
all these
didn't
rich kids.
understand. They were
Mhm.
so mad at him that he divulged all their secrets, and he was like, "But this is
Why did
great.
they
The
invite him
world
to?
should know."
So, but the way here's what I do know from being around people like that: they're on so many fucking school shooter pills to be okay with their crappy like
Mhm.
weird upbringing that they have, which at best is just some weird cold thing where someone's profoundly insecure and
Mhm.
I gotta tell you this off camera too, but just working on
Yeah.
shit where I'm like, okay, I see why you're like this. And anyway, my friend's telling me stuff so flatly and not as like I'm like, do you hear what you're saying to me about what you just told me about this person? And they're like,
Mhm.
it doesn't even phase them. Or they'll tell you a
Yeah.
story about their friend when they were six. It's what it sounds like? Less Than Zero. The guy made that author. He made American Psycho.
Hmm.
That all sounds like something he wrote. Every
Right.
story sounds like that. Where you're like, do you think that's a normal way to live? It sounds like the movie Precious, except you were rich, but the same degradations.
Hmm.
It's fucking
Yeah.
insane. The
Yeah.
money will do it though. I mean, it's not enough. That's enough to get pretty far. And then not
Yes.
making it when your dad had it. That's when you make all kind of deals.
Yes. Well, this is what I will say. What I can't prove that Epstein was tied to the family that was connected to the Rothschild. What I can tell you is from my experience knowing people who work on Wall Street is I can totally see how he could have been a nobody from Coney Island
Hmm.
working in Wall Street, and he could have been the flunky, and they saw certain talents and certain lack of
Yeah,
morals that were very, useful.
yeah.
And
Got a lot of
I think
riz.
yes. And I think that that's what he was. He was a node. And
Of course.
he was a node for catalytic funding,
Hmm.
which people don't talk about, but that is really what he was doing. And
And that's in
the
the game.
this
In light of the gaming thing,
exactly.
that's very interesting, man. That's like
Well,
I'm
I have written about this in some other articles, but in that article on Turning Point, I have a huge section on the Trust Foundation. And as far as I know, I am the only journalist who talked about it at all. Nobody
oh
has
yeah.
covered the Trust Foundation except people in it. And I actually interviewed Jordan Hall. I
Okay.
have not aired it yet, but I asked him about it. He was very dismissive. He kind of said, like, "Oh, I have nothing to do with it, really." And I'm like, "You were the founder,
Yeah.
so." But who was in that? Who is one of the strategic advisors is McChrystal. Who's one of the other strategic advisors is this Diane Allen, who was part of this like Institute for Statescraft.
Yeah.
She's a British intelligence,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
would argue operative. I mean, there's really a
Wait,
lot of evidence for that.
why do I know her name? We did something on Jimmy about this. The Institute for State.
On Diane Allen?
Yeah, what? The Institute for Statecraft in particular. But you know, they all get to. It's like when I would ask Eric Weinstein shit. I still want to ask him more stuff, and he would just. I'm like, that's weird. I figured you'd want to talk about these things, but they didn't.
Oh, really? He
Oh
didn't want to
yeah.
talk about
Well, this is the other thing that bugs me because I agree with his argument about I was at the university. Duncan knows him, so we went to the University of Texas to like film it, you know,
hmm
just like idiots and shit. And we went to go watch, and Jesse Michaels is sitting there, and it's him giving a talk about how the nerds in this one discipline should be able to look into other shit if they. It was some kind of shit that you don't need a speech about. I agree with it, by the way, everything he was saying, and
hmm
they're all fight. There's a guy fighting with him about it. And I'm like,
Okay.
do you fucking dorks have to sit there and have an argument about if it's okay for you to have the argument about another argument? That's what they have to do. I have no respect for academia at all now. I can't believe the level of turning you into a fucking spurg on purpose. Clearly, it's designed to do that. So you ask
Yes.
somebody about something, and all these people that are smart, I'm not smart enough to be a guy figuring any of this shit out. The people that are smart are busy focused on one little thing, waiting for an authority to come and assemble them like fucking Voltron. So I was like, why can't I do that? So I got a bunch of nerds I know in a text group, and they give me information. Why can't I be the authority? There's no reason why not.
Right. Right.
It's unreal.
Well,
Like,
well,
focus in your lane.
I have no respect for our education system, and I mean, I have documented that quite extensively
It's
as well.
even like you
So,
could see the way they're motivated for all their future earnings in life.
yeah.
The way the incentives are set up. See that perversity. That's the part where that is some radical intelligent evil at the top of that idea. The rest of them are just
Well,
falling in
again,
line.
it's not like again, it's not top down. There's many facts. There's many factions of it.
I mean, like
So
the
there,
yeah, but like it's like Hogwarts shit, is what I'm saying. Like Oxford and Cambridge. It, you know, got a fan of his show from what was it, the second PSYOP division? He was telling me about my friend Sean Patrick Hazlitt, who was I forget what branch he was in, but he was talking about deception operations. They call them. They usually go 10 years. They plan for him to go 10 years.
Mhm.
Um, but the ones they do now, they have civilians in charge, and they call themselves dungeon masters. They call themselves the fucking dungeon master. So when they do these LARPs, so Steve Bannon, so Gamergate, that's stupid. Remember Gamergate? It was really a consumer revolt against shitty business practices. But what does every moron think it is now? It's either a harassment campaign or it's about some chick or this and that. And then a guy from TV got involved and then Breitbart got involved, right? That's Bannon is practiced. He's a
Well,
fucking mage. And
Bannon was involved in Breitbart, and the other way. I was around for that.
yeah,
I knew
but he's
many
a guy.
people who
Yeah.
worked at Breitbart, and
Say that
yeah,
again.
I mean, Bannon turned Breitbart upside down. That what he did was awful. That I mean,
He's a
I was
fucking
adjacent to
dark magician, and I mean that literally. That's what it is. It's doing a Dungeons and Dragons game. You make LARPs for people, or the
him.
path working they call it. So
Mhm.
Jehovah Witnesses I was in, that's a form of path working.
hmm
That's what all these things are, little bacteria cultures of total control. You know,
Okay.
that shot Garfield, the Oneida cult. That's another little like
Mm.
gain of function experiment in total fucking control. All of them are the same fucking thing. And when they're arguing about populism and shit, what do you call them? The wards? Is that what Mencius fucking Moldbug? The wards.
And Mencius Moldbug was adjacent to that whole circle too.
Yeah,
So
but you're
back
like,
in
who's in charge
2016.
here? It ain't him. He ain't in charge. When you go into it, you're like, no, we're just guys that were talking. What's the big deal? The thing is, these are always the. So Eric, for example, I still can't get over this.
Mhm.
Because he told Peter Thiel, he goes, stay away from that Epstein guy. He's a construct. He's very emphatic about it when he was talking. And I don't, he didn't seem like he was lying to me as he said it, but I'm going, and he's, Peter Thiel's like, I think he's fine or something. But I'm like, dude, do you think that Peter Thiel doesn't know what you think that you're smarter than Peter Thiel, motherfucker? Is that what you thought? And the billionaire guy who's an esoteric Christian, that's I've been, what? That ain't a Christian. That's called a Satanist. Esoteric. What the fuck? So you think you know better than him because you're Mr. Smarty Pants, fucking whatever you do. He knows what Epstein is, asshole. He's not a dumb guy. All these guys, they think the billionaire doesn't. Oh, I didn't know.
Eric knows too. Eric knows full well.
And also, he probably does know because he said, he goes, "Do you think Epstein was a topper or like a node?" I go, "Obviously a node." He goes,
I
"If
think
everything,
Epstein
yeah."
was a node. Epstein was a node, very much a
He
node.
said, "If everything came out, it would be the end of the world." That's what he said. And I go, "Oh no, oh."
I
Exactly
think
conversation.
I think Epstein was a node. I mean, I can't prove it again, but I do speculate that Eric is an asset very much, and I think that he has higher clearance than his brother does.
Yeah,
I
I
think,
think he does. I don't know if they get
yeah.
along. I
I
get a
don't,
distinct
well,
impression they
after
don't get
the
along.
Unity project, they had a major falling out.
What was
Uh,
the Unity Project again?
the Unity project was essentially a rebrand of the Emancipation Party, which was Jim Rutt's launching pad for Game B.
Right.
Yeah, so the Emancipation Party was like it was born out of the Stanton meetings that he was doing in Stanton, Virginia
Mm-hmm.
around 2013. He started seeding them around 2011. So the whole Game B movement, actually, like the seedbed for it was Eric Weinstein. He did it was funded through the Edge Foundation. He did and the Perimeter Institute. He held this Economic Manhattan Project. No, not a coincidence on the name, in my opinion. Um,
To blow up the
Economic
economy?
Manhattan.
Well, it worked. Okay.
And it was done in Canada at the Perimeter Institute. And I think Winnipeg, Canada. I might have gotten
Mm-hmm.
that wrong, but it was in Canada. And he invited a bunch of people, but he had invited Jordan Hall and was trying to get Jordan Hall connected with his brother, with Brett. And the Jordan describes it that they didn't hit it off initially. And
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't really until Jim was doing these Stanton meetings and Brett was brought in for his evolutionary biology background.
Mm-hmm.
And they started doing this emancipation party for civic reform, institutional reform. And it was very reminiscent of like a Bernie Sanders kind of platform. They wanted some sort of, socialized healthcare kind of thing, and
Oh yeah, nice Yang Gang
UBI.
demands.
Yeah, well, this was before really the
We got to get
post
UBI right
or
away.
it was earlier than before the convergence because Yang got very involved. I mean, the whole United Independent movement with Brock Pierce and Christopher Life. Christopher
Oh,
Life was
Brock
part of Game
Pierce.
B. Brock Pierce, yeah,
I didn't realize the Trump golden calf statue because we did that story where that
yeah,
the Shabbos Goy Schwarza minister is dedicating it. I didn't know Brock Pierce. That's a Brock Pierce project. That statue, and that's
yeah.
some shit coin. So when you see these wacky things, they're like Chud the Builder, and from what I understand, it couldn't have made that much money, but he was using that something dot fund site to
Well,
pump
I
a
mean,
coin.
I think Brock was a front, right? I mean, he was basically a kid who was advising Epstein on cryptocurrency. I've written about
Yeah,
this in
that's
my
real weird.
yeah, and
That's
then
he's from the
Bannon
Brian
took
Singer
over
house, you know.
and then Bannon took over the company.
Yeah, it's real
And
weird.
then Brock like had some house in Puerto Rico right next to a naval base and Bannon's former Navy
Mhm.
intelligence. So
Yeah,
again, I can't like make the direct connection there, but it seems a little interesting.
read that
It's
Titlebound
curious.
book by I can't forget his first name.
Yeah, that's a great book.
Well, it's great because it's not some shit. Heather Lynn told me to read it. I mean, I audio listened to it because my eyes are no good. But
Yeah, and he really does go through, Bannon's traditionalist, not lowercase t,
so I didn't
capital.
understand that at all. I didn't
Yeah,
understand what that meant until I
which,
read it, and I go, "Oh, this is some gross thing." But by the end, you go, "Oh, that's why him and Chomps here together, smiling at each other in the fucking."
well,
It's just
yeah,
so
and
we
it's,
never forget that there's not a right and a left, assholes. Just so we never forget. Because
yeah,
this
no,
fucking liver, boy, I wonder who the lucky gal would be in this Chad sandwich, huh? Ooh, who, don't spoil a girl.
yeah, the Bannon, and he was also, so he was involved in a lot of esoteric movements because he was involved in with Epic Times and the
Yep.
new Federation of China, which is tied to the Falun Gong.
That's the Scientology of China.
Yeah,
And
pretty much.
yeah, they're all the same fucking thing too. By the way, they're all some Kabbalah horse shit. That's Scientology is that, and I didn't know that. Wexner's got a Dybbuk, which is a not a like a fallen angel demon. It's a dead person in
Mm,
that mythology, and it means to a clinger. You know, like a body thetan. It
mhm.
means to cling a Dybbuk. So that's what they're all teaching the same basic horseshit that they dress up 20 different ways because they go into fucking trance. It's unbelievable. There's
Well, I
some
think
radio station they're all tuning into.
uh, well, Kabbalah and Gnosticism aren't quite the same. They're one is like looking for escape to the pleroma, and Kabbalah is looking for repair. But where they are both very similar is their foundational. They're both on the becoming lineage, right? They
Yeah.
both believe in the lie that you shall be as gods. They so
I thought
that
Kabbalah's Gnostic Judaism is a way you could say it.
I use lowercase Gnosticism, lowercase
Yeah,
g,
well, that's kind of a catch-all,
for
isn't
the
it?
umbrella that for, the shared belief that
I don't know
they
enough
can become.
about it.
Yeah. Because the Gnostics, it was a very specific sect of, they were heretics in the first to third century. So they were
Right.
considered Christian heretics, and it's very it's explicit and specific. But
So wait,
they did
would that be
they
Cathars,
believe that
Borborites, or
so
like
they believe that there's like a evil or ignorant demiurge who
yeah,
created the
right,
material world, and so they want to escape this world because this is, similar to like
inherently evil. Yeah.
the Buddhist concept of Maya, right? It's all illusion, it's not real, but they believe that we're trapped by this demiurge who limited and withheld our knowledge, which limited our capacity to become,
Hmm.
something essentially to become
Yeah.
God. And so they believe through gnosis, which is the hidden knowledge, that they can become, essentially, they can become God. But they escape, right? So they escape
Hmm.
to the pleroma, whereas a Kabbalah is about repair. So they believe that this world is fallen, and so we need to, that they become gods who will repair it. The
Right.
divine spark within
But they
everyone.
still got to go into the darkest depths to recover those sweet, sweet sparks. I mean,
Yeah.
they're not the same, but they're meeting at the same parties, aren't they?
Yeah, no, and that's why I use the lowercase g Gnosticism as an umbrella for these esoteric groups.
It's
And
just
I
look,
do think it's
I'm not a Christian again, but when I was, here's a good thing about the Jehovah's. You get to know what it is you believe in right when you walk in. They'll tell you, probably till you want them to
okay.
stop.
Yeah,
There's not a secret part that you got to be initiated into, which is the hallmark of not being Christian in any way, shape, or form. It's just that
yeah,
fucking simple.
yeah.
Really, that salvation is knowing the password, like it's a goddamn club. Awful, just fucking awful. These people, man. Just on the face of it, as a guy who doesn't believe in it, I could see why that sucks.
Mhm.
All these, I'm telling you, I don't want to say names again, but all these guys got weird dicks. They got that flute dick issue. Epstein had an egg dick. Uh, if you look it up, they always. It's the same reason. Oh, all matter is evil. Everything's all bad. Are you a pedophile? Is that what you're saying? That yeah, probably. 9 times out of 10, humans. Arthur C. Clarke. Oh, humans are the worst. Are you the worst, Arthur? And you're projecting it on war, but it's you and your boy thing because you're such a pedo. You can't live in England. That's how pedo-y do you got to be? So they all push that thing, and the thing where like this is an illusion. So like, why don't you meditate and leave your body for a while? No, let me borrow your car.
Well, that's what you was selling.
Yeah.
I mean, that was his stage four was ego
Oh,
death.
yeah. Okay. So the chick he's talking about, he says is stage 3, and she's from that African country.
Hmm.
He's talking, and Epstein goes, "What was the reason for this spurg out or something?" The
Right.
country he said, I can't remember what it was, but the first thing when you look up that African country is Freemasonic satanic killing. Like that's their main thing in that country that they talk about. It's
Interesting.
unbelievable.
Well, I think really though what he was saying was that there was hope because she had gone further in the his 6 stages of consciousness, and so what they were hoping to do, I think, was they were training these girls, and if she could advance, then she could train the others, and then they could develop a model to train the machines for AI designer babies. I think that's really what that was all about.
Wait, explain. She could advance. How does that relate to AI designer babies? I assume it was some, typical mind control shit. But what do you mean? If she advanced in what?
So
I thought, oh yeah,
if she advances to stage four, really once you get to stage four in his model ego death, then essentially you'll be able to get to the re-consciousness, right? Which is
Hmm.
like it's like the new normal, essentially, his stage six.
Oh
But
yeah.
so I think that he was thinking this is showing that it's encouraging because that's what he was saying. Basically, what Epstein was saying was we need to, sorry, they were saying we need to keep funding this because there's hope here. Because if she can advance beyond stage three, and she was showing great promise, that she could train the other. This is
To
why I
do
say
what?
that to be able to reach the high level of consciousness.
But how would that help with AI?
So what I think they were trying to do is create machine consciousness. So Gino Yu was partners with Ben Goertzel on OpenCog,
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that.
right?
That's great.
So
The
yeah, and
Sophia
so
robot?
yes, Sophia robot,
It
the
needs
handsome
wisdom
robotic,
and
but
Gnostic.
he's also part of the yeah, Sophia exactly. It
Or
means
Lucifer.
wisdom. Right. Yes, exactly. The light bearer. But he was also part of the AI for Good, guiding the World Economic Forum and the UN with AI ethics. But
Oh.
his open cog that he was partnered with Juno Yu,
Mm,
they had a different theory of AGI than someone like Marvin Minsky or Ray Kurzweil.
okay.
So Ray Kurzweil, Marvin Minsky, and that camp believe that it's just about compute. So they
Hmm.
believe that, essentially it'll become smarter than us just because it's faster computing and better
Yeah.
computing.
What a
It's
jerk off.
essentially a
Yeah.
better calculator, right? Yeah. Oh, it's
Well,
essentially just a
Minsky's an
better,
Epstein Island alum, too. He's a piece of shit.
yeah, it's a little St. James. But the what Gino Yu and Kurt and Gertzel were saying is that it's about consciousness. In order to truly achieve AGI, it had to achieve consciousness. And that's part of what that intelligence is all about. And so Jim Rutt was actually one of the chairs of the California Center for Machine Consciousness. This was Joe Shabak. And remember, Epstein was also funding through Gino Yu, who introduced them to Joe Shabak, who was all about studying machine consciousness. So
Right.
what I think this whole project was about developing AI designer babies. Remember, he was saying that he wanted to seed the, the generation with that's what Zorro Ranch was all about. He was going to do this. There were theories about the cloning. We don't have any evidence of it, but he wanted to seed, everybody with an entire generation. But I think that that's what that project was about, is the AI designer babies, where then you would essentially have these, what Nick Land would call technoplastic beings. Is it like a cyborg kind of hybrid, right? Where you could, and I mean, there's a lot being done already on that trajectory. They're
Yeah.
already doing, I mean, that's what Elon Musk is a huge advocate of. People say, they praise him for being pro-natalism, but he's also doing all this eugenics because he's doing genetic selection. They have CRISPR technology they've been experimenting with. I know they have made like super soldier type there. I
Mhm.
really have to look up his name, but he's, I think
Little
he's in his
wacky
40s
things.
now.
Yeah. They've
But
been done some
there's
wacky shit.
a
Yeah.
football player, sorry, a baseball player, a famous baseball player whose parents did this kind of like genetic, uh, you know, positive eugenics kind of selection.
Where'd they
And
do it? How?
he was like part of a beta test. I have to look up his name. I'm sorry, I don't have it. I don't remember, but I think he's in his late 40s now, and he's a ball player whose parents did do this.
So he says, wait, so I'm 49. So, oh,
Yeah, so I
so
think
that's
he's
like Jason Project kind of shit?
yeah, totally.
Like the movie
Yeah.
Twins with Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito?
Yeah, I don't know about that, but
That
yeah.
movie is about that. And so the German scientists, all the smartest men, got their mom pregnant who volunteered. And Arnold
Mm.
Schwarzenegger was the Uberman, and then Danny DeVito was. It's actually a hilarious
Yeah,
comedy
yeah.
premise, but that's
Or Gattaca was all about that
yeah,
too. Genetic
yeah,
selection,
genetic.
right?
Well,
Very
that's
much
what
Brave New World. But that's what I think he was trying to do. I'm not saying that I think it's actually possible, but I think that's really what they were trying
Oh
to
no,
do.
they're
And
trying to for sure. They've been doing that. So that's
well, they're
what is it?
taking right now, they're taking human like brain tissue and they're like organelles, and they're trying to create
Yeah.
machine organelles using that model. So
Uh,
I mean, they're definitely trying to do that
it's
now.
real.
But
It's very. What is it? Is it in Daniel? It's the Iron and Clay. They're
Yes,
making
exactly.
trying to mix iron and clay.
Yes, this is why I
So
say
yeah.
it's the being and becoming. Absolutely.
Hmm.
I that's exactly. Um, but yeah, we digress quite a bit. I can give you my thoughts on Tavistock. I can give you kind of the
Oh yeah, I
cliff notes.
forgot about it because I got yeah. I'm very
Yes,
scattered.
we went all over,
If
but
you get
so
scattered, I'm not going to focus you. I'm not good at that. I'm gonna make it
that's
much
fine.
worse.
That's fine. I've covered a very wide range of things, so I'm happy to
No,
go
you got your
anywhere.
Substack's great. You got great fucking stuff you look into. But yeah, so Tavistock, I assume I'm always like, I want to take this complex shit and just really bluntly, I want to be
Yes.
glib. I'd like to be very glib about it, and so that's what I
Mhm.
strive for.
Well, you did a
Um,
really great glib overview of it.
thank
I
you.
give you
That's why I
that.
hope to.
That's great. Um, but essentially, there's really only two books on it, and
Mhm.
they make some leaps, right? So you've got Dr. John Coleman, who was a big like eye opener for me back in 2020. That was kind of like my entree into this whole kind of world and this
Why?
research. So I had a friend who had messaged me like at midnight. It was always midnight in 2020. Um, but and he says he sends me this video and he says, "Have you ever?" It was a video of John Coleman doing talking about the Committee of 300, and he
Okay.
says, "Have you ever seen this?" And I have I ever heard of it? And I said, "No." And he said, "Okay, you have to watch it and then call me back." And I was like, "Okay." So I watched it. It was actually on YouTube. It's still on YouTube.
Yeah.
Pirated versions of
Is
it are
that a
still on.
thing that's acknowledged to exist, or is that purely in the realm of what's his name, Springmeyer kind of stuff,
There's elements of it.
which I'm into,
Uh,
by the way. But
Right, right. There are elements of it, but there's no kind of like concrete proof of it, if that makes sense.
mhm.
Like in
Well,
theory,
sometimes it's like Bilderberg. Oh, it didn't exist. Or Peter
exactly.
Thiel's whatever.
Dialogue, which I knew about
Yeah,
before that expose. I mean, I actually had a spook reach out to me who was a member of Dialogue.
yeah. Dialogue's like a young upstart disruptor. Bilderberg.
Yeah,
Relax, everybody. It's
and
not
that's what he
even.
said. He's like, yeah, we do like lunches and stuff. Well, so remember when I was talking about the Trust Foundation?
Mhm.
Trust Foundation was created in 2018. On their page, they explicitly say that their model is dialogue. Peter Thiel's dialogue. This is back in 2018. And they say they use the model of like, courting people. This is intelligence gathering through whining and dining.
Yeah,
It's the
right.
oldest method, right? You get people loose and,
That's how
feeling
I gather
good.
intelligence.
Yeah, exactly. That's how
Although
most
usually
people
I'm
get.
just drinking and just standing over them, talking into their face.
Yeah,
It's
I mean
not good.
that's how it's been done since the beginning of time,
Mhm.
really. So, but yeah, they explicitly say that, they're going to use these kind of like secret kinds of methods,
Mhm.
and dialogue was a model for it. But yeah, so this is how that is all done. But no, I would say elements of it are definitely verifiable, but this idea of an explicit committee of 300, I haven't seen that actually been proven.
Right.
Um, but yeah, so I watched the video and I was very intrigued. And so I started looking for, what other things he'd done, new books. I'd never heard of him before. I mean, I was like a total normie in 2020. I knew nothing.
Yeah,
Um,
me either.
so
Yeah.
yeah, so I was like, okay. But then I found this one book. He had written 13 books that I could find, but one of them was retailing for almost $5,000. And I was like, whoa,
Oh, that's a
well,
good sign that you want it. Yeah.
yeah, I was like, well, what is in here? They don't want us to know. And so
Mhm.
it was on Amazon for like $4,499. Yeah. So I was like, no, $4,999, almost $5,000. And so I found a PDF of it and I read it 3 times in a week because I was so riveted by it.
What's it called?
It was the Tavistock Institute of Human Relations.
It's a 5,000. I mean, that's like getting your hands
Now,
on.
now it's on Amazon for $25. I don't know if
Yeah.
they've done some editing, but it's now $25.
Hmm. If you
But
don't get the print, they could change it, and they've done Jeffrey Dahmer's dad's book. They took
yeah.
out about how he basically mind controlled a neighborhood girl. He
Uh-huh.
wrote that. By the way, Jeffrey Dahmer's dad wrote a book like you would write if you were a Kanye West mom, which was crazy as shit on her part. But you're
Yeah.
Dahmer's dad writing that. What kind of maniac are you?
Wow. Yeah.
Why would you
So
write a book if you're Dahmer's dad? And then say
I know.
you're obsessed with control and you hypnotize a girl across the street. That's the part they took out if you get it digitally. Is that wild?
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Uh, who's the one that was in a relationship with her dad from One Day at a Time? And her dad's from the Mamas and the Papas. Phillips.
Oh,
And remember when
wait,
she went on Larry King to talk about her weird incest relationship with her dad? It's probably around 2007.
was he Busy Phillips or no?
No,
No.
that's the young Bijou Phillips, the
Yeah,
younger.
right.
This is the older
Uh,
daughter, and she, rock and roll tell all books from like Anthony
yeah.
Kiedis's and Motley Crue. And if you go back, so the thing is, when I started seeing these MK Monarch victims talk about shit, then I go back and
I've interviewed 11 satanic ritual abuse survivors, and some
go,
of them
yeah,
are monarch, yeah.
yeah. And so, I mean, the names of the programs don't matter as much as the, hey, whatever works,
The tactics, yeah, the
Yeah,
tactics.
and when you go back and read these rock stars overshare books, they're
Yeah.
degenerate. I mean, you're reading it like this is not, and they all are like, I would never write that now. But there was a period of time when it was getting so like, externalization of the hierarchy. Like, no, yeah, my dad like fucked my friend in high school, and we were 15, and like real crazy, awful shit. That's just like normal to them, and that's the stuff they talk about. The stuff they
Yeah,
don't talk about is unreal.
I know. I know. I've talked on camera and off camera to several of them, so I do know.
We got yeah, you got to go through a lot of them because it's you know
And some of them are not very coherent, and so the stories are not reliable, which is unfortunate.
no,
But
I
some of
would go
them
by
are.
themes. I don't get hung up on the like the Committee of 300.
Yeah.
Even if that is the name of the thing, I'm
No,
sure it's not
exactly. Like,
now.
right. Exactly. That's why I say elements of it are totally. I mean,
What's
yeah.
important was who's your daddy and who's your mommy, and if you've got enough, you can withstand a lot of cortisol shooting through your body without dropping dead, because you're going to need it for a leadership position, and that's what the
Yeah.
inbreeding and
Well,
all that's about is
I
breeding.
know.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, I know the CIA tried to recruit me when I was 7. So yeah, I know.
wait for why?
They said I had an eidetic memory, but
No shit, do you?
yeah. So they brought like they did a they told us the police came in and it was kind of like a dare program, like the police were coming in. It wasn't, I don't think it was actually dare at that time. It was too early, but it was something similar. And they brought the
Okay.
police in. They said, we're going to do a skit. And so they did a skit. And I was just so struck by like how disorganized it was. Because normally, if you were going to put on a performance, you would have everybody on
Mm,
stage, right? And you'd have us kind of lined up. And it wasn't like that. We were all scattered around the room and they were kind of acting
because it's a
around us.
fake thing. Okay.
Well, because what they were trying to do, it was like a test, really, is what it was. And so I was actually heightened in my experience, which heightened my recall because that was just so kind of awestruck by it. Like,
Right.
why aren't they performing for us? Why are they scattered all around us? It was weird to me.
Yeah,
Um,
right.
so I was 7 years old. I mean, I don't know. So they then brought each kid to the principal's office and they asked us to tell what we saw. And so I did, but I gave a lot of detail. Like I told them what color nail polish the girls had, like some of the guys had hats on backwards and like the shoes. And I told them word for word what they said. And so, yeah, they called my mom and they called my parents. My mom answered and, they told her that I had an eidetic memory. They wanted to talk to her about recruiting me. And um, my mom said my mom told them that she didn't think I was eligible because I'm visually and hearing impaired. And I don't think she knew that that probably made me more enticing to
Yeah,
them,
yeah, I bet.
you know. And they were like, "Oh, that's not a problem at all, not to
They're
worry."
like really into it.
But but then what they said that turned her off. I mean, she already had like her spidey senses, her
Hmm.
maternal instincts were buzzing and she was not feeling good about this. But she said that they said they were gonna have to take me away for a little bit, and that's when she was like, "Oh no, we're not doing this."
Yeah. Oh,
And
that's good.
so
Your mom saved you from that. My
that's what I
mom's
always
like that.
say.
She
Yeah,
would never have let somebody.
yeah.
And one
My
thing I
mom
can say about my
basically
mom.
she hung up on them, and I thought it was a one-time incident, but my mom said it actually happened for 9 months. Like they kept calling and trying, and then I was in. I guess I don't know when I was 12, they give you this. I did the CTY program, which was like the Center for Talented Youth, and it's
Yeah, I did.
affiliated
Yeah.
with the You did too.
I
Okay.
did Gateway and then Gifted and
It's
Talented in one state and Gateway in another.
okay. Yeah, it's similar to the the
There's a
Gate
lot of
program.
independent contractors doing this
But
work.
this one was John Hopkins. And so but it was essentially they gave you the SATs, and if you scored higher than 1200 when you were 12, then they admitted you to the program.
Oh,
And so I went, and what's weird about it is that I only remember the first day. The eidetic memory, supposedly, and I
I was gonna
only
say I don't
remember.
remember anything about Gate except Pink Drink and something that was like a hearing test, but it wasn't. That's it. And I got
I
a
keep hearing that.
yeah.
I remember nothing. I remember the very first day, and the only reason I remember it is because I ran into a friend from nursery school who was like my buddy in trying to escape nap time. And her name is Sharon. That's the only reason I remember the first day. But I do remember the first day they had us doing a lot of like kind of, tests. It was kind of
Hmm.
like word problems and math problems and that kind of stuff. I mean, it was like puzzles, word puzzles.
Hmm.
It was fun to me. I didn't have a traumatic experience, except that I don't remember the entire summer. But I have talked to Monarch programmers who said that that was definitely them trying to recruit me again. Again, I don't know, but that's what he told me. He
Yeah,
was
I
like,
don't. Me and
that's definitely.
Duncan was in it, and my friend Brooke. The thing, Brooke, in she's been in College, Texas, I think this was, and
Yeah.
they went in this extra separate building from the school, and it was a hot air balloon basket. They all got in, the kids, and then
Oh,
there's a
wow.
big screen, and it looked like they're flying over Italy.
Wow. Interesting.
It was
Yeah.
probably some remote viewing bullshit. I didn't know
Well,
at the time.
so I actually had a friend. He passed away. His name was Sean David Morton,
Did you know
and
that guy?
I was very close to him
Oh, I have a
actually.
lot of questions for him. Well, you can't ask him now.
You can watch my three-hour episode with him.
Where?
Um,
Please
it's
send me
on
the
my
link to that.
yeah, I
I
will.
didn't know.
Yeah.
Okay, I got his book. I read a couple of his books.
Yeah, yeah. I
And
have a signed series of his books.
yeah, because what's so okay? So he
Mm.
was so wild about. You talked about space
Yeah.
relations before. So his books, and his claim was that it was this guy's real like journal that he dressed it up to make it more entertaining because it was very dry. And when you read it, it looked to me like from what I read, it was very clear the part he wrote and the part that was not what he wrote, which was really eerie. Okay,
Yeah.
he wasn't a great writer, but it was
Yeah.
fascinating. The book.
Hmm.
I still want to get somebody who can read scientific notation, explain, because he claimed that Einstein had solved unified field theory and dropped dead or something, and there was
I
a
know.
formula in one of the
Right.
books, but I can't read it, so I don't know if it says gibberish or I still
I
don't
don't
know.
yeah. I don't know. He had a lot of crazy ideas. He was a great guy. He was a lot of fun. But he told me, because he had a school for remote viewing. He was like, "We're the good remote viewers, not the
Hmm.
CIA bad remote viewer." Which, by the way, is Project Stargate. This is what my uh Epstein
Hmm.
article is all about. But yeah, his whole theory was that that's what they were trying to recruit me for. Again, I don't know, but he was like, "You'd
More
be
than
such a good
likely,
remote viewer." I
no,
was
they
like,
want
"Okay,
people that exhibited some form, and you called synchronicity. I'm with Giorgiani on that one. That synchronicity is psi. Everybody has a degree of it. It doesn't mean like
sure,
X-Man shit necessarily, but
right."
I've experienced it. I've experienced it, and it was especially my fiance, like almost immediately because she's got something weird. In fact,
Mm,
your friend Sean David Horton's book
mhm,
had an explanation in it that I don't think he wrote. It
mm,
just didn't. I mean, I can't stress the contrast of the parts that he thought were great to put in the book and the parts that read like radically different and dry. You know what I mean?
right,
And there's an
yeah,
explanation of somebody seeing like an apparition off of
mm,
photons. I can't. How did it go? It was something that directly related to something my girlfriend had seen growing
oh,
up. Uh,
interesting.
yeah, and I was like, I remember reading. I'm like, this sounds like the thing you were just talking. Anyway, uh, uh, I forgot why I brought it up. Even right, Mark's got to go soon, so I gotta. We got to wrap this up, right, Mark? Is that what you said? I think it was Mark.
Well, I was talking about Sean David Morton, and then I was talking about remote viewing, and
Oh
if
yes, okay.
Sean,
Sean
Sean,
David Morton said he was with the good remote viewers,
yeah, yeah,
and
they're doing it for good. That's what he said.
there's a part in the book where the guy's writing, "Oh, that Sean David Morton kid is a good guy, and there's no need to kill it." He like wrote that in the book. But the guy in the book, Ted Humphreys, that it's about, I don't know if that's a real guy. Fuck him if it is. Anybody working and keeping any of this shit secret's a piece of shit. You're not. I don't know. You would have to be a devil worshiper to think that you're doing some good, hiding any of these things, or if it's a big lie, helping in that lie, you're a piece of shit. That's worse, honestly. If there's nothing, and they just made it all up.
I think Sean was just he very imaginative guy. He had a
Well, where
lot of
was he
wild
from?
ideas.
It sounded like he had some family connections in aerospace.
No, he didn't, but he grew up in I believe he grew up in California. Yeah. He
Um,
went to he was in the film industry. So, yeah.
well, I don't know, man. I can't, like, I can't say it on. This was so crazy. Is like, I don't say trust me, bro, to anybody. I say, hey, don't trust me. Go to your local library, jerk
Yeah,
off
I
to the
mean, I
internet,
don't
go home and
get
look it up.
I think he believed a lot of things that were a little
Well,
wild. But
okay, so my friend Roseanne, I do tell this story, told me at Thanksgiving, Roseanne Barr, because
yeah.
in the 90s, she claimed to have been satanically abused and then had to
Yeah,
walk
I've
it
heard
back
that.
later. In fact, I thought it had been debunked as a thing,
Yeah.
specifically from reading about her. But
Uh-huh.
but no, and I so I didn't know shit at the time when she says to me. But so we were smoking weed. It was a great time at Thanksgiving at her house. One of the best times I've ever had. Anyway, she goes, "Yeah, I was raised Mormon and Orthodox Jewish." I go, "Oh, that's weird." And she goes, "Yeah." And that was it because I didn't know shit. If I had known what I know now, she was telling me that she was satanically ritually abused. That's what that means. That's all I got to hear to know. There's no such thing as a fucking Orthodox Jewish Mormon. That's not a thing. Okay, it's in the name that it's not a thing. But you know what that is? That's a Frankist fucking occultic family who got into Mormonism. If you know about, because you know how they have all the esoteric shit from Freemasonry. So anybody looking at their temple can see two levels. You can see one if you got the eyes to see, and you can see another thing if you got, the right compartmentalization. And the whole nation works on that. You got like,
Well, I would caution against like making broad statements about everybody in a specific religion.
well, it's not everybody. It's an inner
Yeah.
circle. It's exactly like
I think
Miller's.
there's an inner circle of every religion, to be honest.
Well, especially America. Well, okay.
Not just in America. I think the top
Because the psychic
because
corridor where the Jehovah's
Mhm,
came out of and the
mhm,
Mormons, that was
yeah.
the tech sector of goofy horseshit, of
Mhm,
occultic spiritualism bullshit. That was the tech sector then. And they're all control schemes. They're all the kind of shit Gino Yu's talking about with Bannon. All warlocks do the same fucking thing. They come up with a LARP for you, and then
mhm,
they market them, and they have conventions. My friend Aaron from the Sea Org, uh,
mhm.
he was telling me that the Nation of Islam licenses Scientology to use for their Nation of Islam people because those are two fucking wizards
Right.
comparing control system. That's all the shit
Right.
is. That's why the
Yeah.
PSYOP people call themselves dungeon masters. And I've noticed since I started getting into this, I mean, you must have. I mean, well, it sounds like you had it at age 7, people coming at you pretty hard, but I'll get like the ex DOD guy. Oh, I just want to let you know 80% of your analysis is correct. Like, what? I hope, I thought you would say 0 to 5%, not 80. And then I asked around. It turns out a bunch of people had a guy say that exact percentage as well. Scott
Mm.
Horton had a guy come up and say it to him. Because I'm like, I bet this is a thing they say to all the girls. And it is. It is. You'll attract attention, and then someone will start trying to put you on a track, and you see it happen to people all the time. But the thing
Mhm.
is, I don't have credibility. I'm a fucking clown, so I don't have no caution about fucking shit. You tell me whatever, I'm gonna blather it. I don't care. All right, this is Courtney. Thank you for coming back on after I lost the other. Well, I blame others, but I guess it falls on me as the communist Islamic caliphate overlord of this show. It's my fault.
You're welcome. Well,
Um, this
yeah,
book,
and
Final
yes,
Betrayal.
final betrayal.
What a
And
grim title that really sums it up, though.
yes. And so I'll just tell you very briefly. We'll do a really quick rundown of Tavistock. So Tavistock is so the two books are Dr. John Coleman, Daniel Estlin. Daniel Estlin mostly just quotes Coleman, um, but in it he attributes it as going Coleman attributes it going all the way back to the British War Propaganda Bureau
Is that
and
World War One?
World War One,
Okay.
yes.
That's
So
okay.
there's discrepancy on when that actually started. Some reports say it was 1912, some say 1913, some say 1914. But essentially, the whole concept was that the Germans had a war propaganda bureau. The British didn't. They needed to come up with one. They really did. It wasn't so much, like intelligence. It was more like taking propaganda, literary figures, people
Hmm.
like H.G. Wells and, Chesterton. And there were actually 26 of them. And I was so devastated when I found out that Rudyard Kipling was invited, um, by
Oh
Charles
yeah,
Masterman.
I
Yeah,
thought I always thought White Man's Burden was sarcastic when I read it, but I guess no, he was pretty serious about that.
I mean, "If" is to still to this day one of my all-time favorite poems.
Well,
Yeah,
because I'm like, it sounds like so bitter and like, oh, like, but it's. I think he
it's
was saying
not. It
do
doesn't
that for
sound
real.
bitter.
The
If
white
the
man's
poem
burden of like, hey, drag the Africans into democracy and all that shit. It sounds like a sarcasm thing to me.
that's not what "If" was about.
Oh, I thought you
You
said
c-
white man's burden.
oh, no, no. If you
I
can
was
keep
like,
your
that's your
head,
favorite?
if you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make
Right.
allowance for their
That's a
doubting
different
too.
poem than the one I
Yeah,
thought you read.
very different. It's a great poem. Yeah.
Like, wow, that's a weird poem to be your favorite one.
It was my
White man's
favorite. It was my
burden.
favorite since I was like 8 years old,
Well, that's
maybe
a good. I like
no,
that
actually,
poem as well.
it was
Yes.
since I was 4 years old. My grandfather read it to me, and it was my
Really?
favorite. Yeah, and it was really my favorite
What'd your
poem.
grandpa do?
Yeah, he ran a beer distribution company. He started it with his brothers. He was an orphan.
Oh, no
Yeah,
shit.
yeah.
Yeah, I
Um,
used to like that poem, and I always liked
but I
the.
love that poem, and I think that there's still a lot of merit to that poem. But I was pretty bummed
Well,
to
a lot
find
of
that
merit to a
he,
lot of these people's work. It's
yes.
just that
Yeah.
they're into some creepy shit. I don't know what you want, and you
Well,
live
and
in
I
the.
don't know that he was, I think he was just being used as a propaganda agent. But anyway, that's really what they were doing, is using the propaganda. And so that was Charles Masterman inviting these, literary figures to circulate pro-war propaganda to garner
Hmm.
acquiescence, mostly from Americans, from the neutral American elite,
The isolationists,
to get into the war. Exactly.
those dirty
So it
isolationists.
There's no evidence that there is a direct trail from the British War Propaganda Bureau to the Tavistock Clinic. There is some shared funding, there's some shared kind of, apparatus, but there is also just the entire field of psychology and the field of propaganda, which overlap, of course, with Edward Bernays, the double nephew of
Yeah.
Sigmund Freud,
Well,
right?
that right there is where
And
we get the
his
occult
nephew.
part.
Well, the origins of the field of psychology are both Greek mythotheology and occultism.
Yeah, all
So
is mind. If I control
known.
your mind, I control the
Well,
universe. And now I'm God.
remember I was saying there's the two, oh no, this was before we re-recorded, but
Oh,
there's the two fields, right? There's the experimental psychology, and then
right.
there's the psychical psychology. And
Mm-hmm.
they were kind of around the same time. And like there was the Institute for Psychical Research, right? And then there was the SPSR, I think it was,
Mm-hmm.
and there was then the Leipzig lab, which was Wilhelm Wundt, who is known as the grandfather of experimental psychology. And he treated humans as lab rats, right? He
Mm-hmm.
didn't believe that we had a soul, that was a fixed nature. We're kind of clay to be molded. And
Yeah.
so
A
we could do,
golem.
yes. And he did these experiments out of the Leipzig lab. He was also the progenitor, essentially, of this PhD program. And so there's a lineage from
Oh, is that
the
right?
Leipzig lab to the whole education system, the Prussian
Right.
model of education that was
Yeah.
imported to the United States. People
Prussian
like,
miracle.
right, then the Prussian model was born out of the Battle of Jena, where they realized the soldiers had rebelled, and they said that they rebelled because they were critical thinkers, and we can't have that. The Battle of
Stop being
1807.
so critical. You're ruining the battle.
Yes, so we need to breed for compliance and obedience, and that's essentially where this model was born out of.
Hmm.
And then you have the people like Fichte. Fichte was very close tied. There's discrepancy whether he was an official Illuminati member. He was a very high level Freemason, and he was very close with people who were
But he wasn't
Illuminati.
in America, was he? Ficker, or he was?
No, he's German,
So I thought
German Prussian,
Illuminati was just in
but he
America. Okay, but yeah,
no,
I mean, I
Illuminati was not American. It was the
initially it was the
Bavari. It was
Bavarian.
the Bavarian Illuminati. So this is part of the problem with decentralization. It becomes easier to infiltrate, right?
Hmm.
Which we were talking about McChrystal, his teams of teams, human train
Hmm.
systems. It was all about decentralized
Circles within
cultural.
circles.
Yeah, this is a little bit different than Circle. This is actually decentralized because many of the lodges are not connected. They're doing their own thing. So it's actually easier to infiltrate because you
Right.
go to each one and it's a
Well, I'm part of
smaller.
Transtifa, so I know that. Yes.
Okay. So, you have these smaller groups,
Hmm.
so it becomes easier to do things like sensitivity training,
Hmm.
which is, a rebrand really of, I think, much older ancient mystery kind of tactics.
Hmm.
But Kurt Lewin was the father of sensitivity training. Sensitivity training was deemed, and he worked with MIT, right? He was recruited by MIT.
Let me just write his
Uh,
name down. Kurt Lewin, like
Kurt Lewin,
LLKURT.
Lewin. Yeah,
Okay.
so he wasn't officially Tavistock, but he worked with some of the Tavistock psychologists. And the sensitivity training was deemed by the CIA. Like there was actually a document in 1984, you can pull it down off the CIA.gov, that says that they wanted to test it on their military, essentially test the efficacy of
Wait, it
sensitivity.
wasn't the KGB infiltrated?
Well,
So
they
was
wanted.
it the KGB destroying us in China communism?
Well,
Yeah.
that's a more complicated answer
It's like
than
the
just.
calls coming from the house, inside the house, like always. The Frankfurt School fuckers, they brought them here. They wanted them here. They wanted to program us. My friend Judah Friedlander wears two masks to this day. He still wears
Okay,
two fucking masks.
that's crazy. Well, it's more complicated than that though. But okay, so the sensitivity training, they said that it was like the equivalent of Chinese brainwashing, and so they couldn't
Yes.
brainwash their military. They didn't say Maoist struggle sessions. That's essentially what they were alluding to. So you can find
Right.
that document. It's on
There's a
the
Chinese word for it that means wash brain, and L. Ron Hubbard
yes.
said he could do it really well. See, L. Ron Hubbard's another one of these guys.
Yes, L. Ron
Yeah.
Hubbard, and L. Ron Hubbard, we have documentation on. That's not at all speculation, and that's fully
No, that's right.
documented.
I think he got sheep dipped, and I don't think he had a disgraceful service record. I think he's fucking was naval like a Jack Posobiec piece of shit. The red woman that showed up to, the other guy that would jerk off in the desert to make fucking rockets for some reason. That's part of it. Parsons, right? Jack Parsons.
Jeff Parsons, yep.
That the red woman. That she's naval
There
intel.
is
That
a
bitch was from the
great doc.
Navy.
There's a great documentary actually on Parsons. It's incredibly disturbing. Have you seen it?
No, I would
Uh,
like to. I'm trying to find I've only heard little bits and pieces of the disturbing part, but I haven't found a good one. If you have it, I want to
it
know
is very disturbing.
because the incest
Is
aspect
it
of it.
called? Is it called Do What Thou Wilt? I think it might have been. I don't know. I'll find the name of it. It's a pretty recent one.
Yeah.
Um, and I watched it recently with my husband, and it was very disturbing. Um, but yeah, so that's Kurt Lewin, that's sensitivity training. So they're taking, so Edward Bernays, is his nephew is Mark Randolph Bernays, who's the father of our modern day propaganda machine, also known
Oh,
as Net,
not Edward Bernays. I thought Edward Bernays was, but it's Mark is the one. His son is.
of our modern day propaganda machine known as Netflix.
Wait, that guy is really
Mark Randolph Bernays is Edward Bernays' nephew.
no
And
shit.
yeah, and he actually went to my alma mater. He went to Hamilton University, Hamilton College.
Oh, I went to Hotchkiss. No, I didn't. I'm just learning fancy pants because my show, The Cutout, is about Well, so I got Brian Callen's the main guy. He's like my Steve Carell of this, and
Mhm.
he's his dad, who's the former head of the Bank of Saudi Arabia and CIA and a Jesuit.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
and current loan shark for the IMF.
Hmm.
I don't know anybody whose dad is more like powerfully connected to fucking Apollyon than his dad. I don't know of anyone else higher up than that. My friend
Oh,
Chloe LeBranch is from that LeBranch spooky family, their financial family from New Orleans. And that
right.
the LeBranch house, that haunted house, where I don't know what great something of hers it is, but this bitch, her husband died, and his side piece, she chained her up in the upper room and just starved her to death. And she was be
Oh,
eating
wow.
meals downstairs like a Israeli settler. and they didn't know that she had done this until after she died. So
Oh, wow.
that means you're into some weird occult shit because most people would get rid of the body, but that means you want to negatively charge your motherfucking house. That's how creepy that shit is. It's New Orleans. It's Halloween, Florida. You know.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Well,
Okay.
okay, so you've got this lineage, and then it does connect to the education system. People like Fichte, I was explaining, Fichte actually is the one who took Kant's interpretation of the dialectic from Chalybus, and he's the one who said thesis, antithesis, synthesis. Hegel talked about the abstract, negative, concrete. The negative is essentially an oxymoronic term in German that means it's called Aufheben. So it means like to lift up and preserve while simultaneously canceling and hollowing out from within. So like
How's that
Aufheben the
typically
culture.
use that word?
What?
How do they typically use that word?
Oh,
Like,
they use it all the time. It's a
and
German word.
like,
Yeah.
how would you use it? I mean, that's a I like these words that they have in other languages we don't have anything that does them.
Well, I would say what the Frankfurt School didn't use the term, but what they did was Aufheben the culture.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's would be how I would use it. But I wrote an article. It's really book length, but it's called Hegel's Dialectic and Gnostic Jacob's Ladder. And
Okay.
I see it as an inversion of Jacob's Ladder.
Oh, you said that on the. Okay, wait. I just want to write that 'cause I want to read that.
Yeah. So, and I go through the history, but Fichte was also involved, as I was saying, he was a high-level Freemason. He was uh, very tied in with people like Goethe and Herder, who were definitely Illuminati. So yes, the Illuminati was a Bavarian Illuminati. However, they were warning about the infiltration in the United States. So it was George Washington actually warned
Yeah,
about it.
right. Mm-hmm.
He used the Proofs of a Conspiracy, John Robison's book, and Jefferson used the book Code of the Illuminati. They were both written in like 1789.
Mark Hoffman was on the last episode, and and because I was looking down on Jefferson, but then he made me kind of like Jefferson. Kind of turned me around on Jefferson more than I would have thought. With the right to error, I didn't know Jefferson came up with that.
The
No,
right
like
to.
if you said the wrong when COVID times, like my friend Rogan, by the way, wasn't wrong once about COVID. Anything he said. Michael
Mhm.
Hoffman, sorry, Michael L. Hoffman, for the
Mhm.
Twilight language guy. Did you read?
Okay.
He was telling me about Jefferson because I assumed Jefferson was one of these fucking. I thought he's part of it, like as like a Ben Franklin, maybe not Ben Franklin level, but you know. But he said no.
Yeah, I don't focus too much on that because yes, they were not a monolith, and some of them were involved in Masonic stuff, and some of them were deists. They had all sorts of varying opinions and views, but they got together and codified the only document, political legal document in all of the world history to codify the metaphysics that stipulate that we have unalienable rights, that we
I know.
are
Is that
endowed from
that
our
really
creation.
is a good that, wait,
So
that's
I
like
don't really care
independence.
what their personal beliefs were. I really don't.
Well, here's the thing that because I think Franklin now oh shit, I can't. God damn. I think Franklin was you go those who would take a little security,
Mhm.
trade a liberty for a little security, deserve
Yeah,
neither. I
yeah,
think
yeah,
that
yeah.
is like I think he was saying that from a whole different perspective of like an iTunes agreement that this is licensed to do bad shit to you now. Like, first of all,
I can't adjudicate intent and I don't care. I honestly don't care. To
well,
me,
yeah,
it's because when I look at the Declaration of Independence and what that did for this country, and not just for this country, but for the entire world, and I wish more people were taught the metaphysics that
mm,
are codified in that document
well,
that
we
we
don't
are not
want
taught
that. We're
because of our
infiltrated a long time
education.
ago.
Right, because of our education system. So Fichte, I'm going to read you a quote from Fichte.
Okay.
Fichte influenced Horace Mann, which is another school I almost went to. Um,
Oh, yeah, okay. I remember the
yeah,
Horace Mann School in New York. Yeah.
Horace Mann. So education should aim at destroying free will, so that after the pupils have left school, they shall be incapable throughout the rest of their lives of thinking or acting otherwise as their schoolmasters would have wished.
I what's
That's John
amazing is,
Gottlieb Ficke. And John Gottlieb Ficke was one of the predecessors. He was very influenced by Kant. Kant came up with the idea of the perpetual peace, And
Yes.
Ficca had a variation of that, which later became the League of Nations, that became the UN, right?
Hmm.
So this is all they all influence each other.
Yes, I
But
worship that black square in the basement with the modern.
yeah,
Wait,
well,
what's his
I
middle
mean, the
name?
UN is the UN. We have a lot of documentation of how it's directly influenced by. I mean, Lucius Trust is Alice Bailey's creation, and it was originally Lucifer Publishing, and that was in
Yeah.
1920. She changed it to 1920 in 1922 to Lucius Trust, which still means the same thing. Still means the light bearer.
And again,
Different.
Venus is only the light bearer half the year. Well, I guess that's very Luciferian. Sometimes I'm good and sometimes I'm bad. Woo! I'm above it all. All right, I gotta wrap it up because he's got to
Okay.
go. That was great, Courtney. Thank you very much. I'm just writing down John Gottlieb Ficca because I want that quote. the quote
Yeah, and the
that
other
quote is like one of the best quotes I've ever heard because it's so like not a conspiracy. It's so like
it's it because it's so real. Exactly. And that's what I try
yeah.
to do. You don't need the conspiracy because there's so much real stuff. I'll read
Well,
you
I
one
almost
more.
never get to my conspiracies because people think real stuff is like just if you just tell them about Haiti or something, they think you're telling them a conspiracy. You just
Right.
tell them
Oh,
like normal history of it.
right. So yeah, so that's why I like to bring the receipts. So I will leave you with this. This is John Rawlings Rees, who was the founder of the World Federation of Mental Health, who was one of the first leaders of the Tavistock Institute.
Mental
And
health. Okay, this is good. Man.
yes, and his partner Chrisholm was actually even way his quote was even way worse.
Yeah,
But I will read you
mention
Reese,
small bug, not
Reese
so bad now.
but I'll read you Reese's quote. Reese's quote was, "Public life, politics, and industry should all of them be within our sphere of influence. If we are to infiltrate the professionals and social activities of other people, I think we must imitate the totalitarians and organize some kind of fifth column activity. If
Oh,
better ideas on mental health are to progress and to spread, we as the salesmen must lose our identity. Let us all, therefore, be very secretly fifth columnists."
well, that sounds like the Seven Mountains Mandate to me a bit. We must conquer every sphere, the entertainment sphere and the something sphere. That's always the same thing. We're going to be wise as serpents. All right, let's see. Yeah, education should ain't. This is one of the best quotes I've ever heard, Courtney. I'd never heard it until you said it just now, and I'm going to be mentioning it a lot now because
Yeah.
this is fucking wild. But
Absolutely. And then Crystal, since I did find it, he said that it was in 1945, Dr. Brock Chisholm, who was also a future WHO World Health Organization Director General, not just partners on the World Federation of Mental Health. But he said that for humanity to move past conflict, psychiatrists must target traditional morality. He advocated
mm,
for the eventual eradication of the concept of right and wrong, arguing that psychiatrists should replace this along with faith in the certainties of the old people. So the idea that the elders were the wise ones with
mm,
rational, intelligent thought. Chris Holmes stated that the freeing humanity from the burden of good and evil. So that is a very kind of
yeah,
Manichaean or Kabbalistic kind of concept. Yeah.
that's a real good Carl Jung fucking
Yes.
brain
Yeah. The
job there.
shadow. And Carl Jung was an open Gnostic. I mean, he was a Gnostic.
Yeah, right.
So that's what I was saying, the split of the fields of psychology. You had Wilhelm Wundt, who started the Leipzig lab, and then you had this research for the psychical research, the Society for Psychical Research, but they were studying things, and it was the like elite, like Balfour was part of it. And they were studying things like mentalism, hypnotism, but they were doing it from a very quote unquote scientific perspective.
Yeah, that's
And
what makes it
Jung,
worse. That's what it's like how they
it,
took the
well,
coca leaf and made cocaine. They took
Well,
fucking
yeah, Jung, Freud was used cocaine for his
right.
studies. Yeah.
Yeah, of
So,
course. You can't
and
argue with results.
he was a Greco mythologist, and he really replaced the idea of the soul, as
Yeah,
a
they big
fixed kind of.
farmed ancient Babylonian black magic. They big farmed it. Do you know what I
Well,
mean? They
not
took
only did
those practices.
the
Mhm.
psychiatrist Big Pharma did, but the
Or
psychologist
yes, I'm saying it.
created
Yeah.
a legitimate academic credential layer for this ideology that you can mold human beings, and they really paved the way for transhumanism. So I'll leave you with that. So Tavistock Clinic was 1920, and this was, for ostensibly shell shock research therapy. It was much more centered around individual and, later some group, small group, like, couples. The Institute, 1946,
Hmm.
was where they got their donation from the Rockefellers, and it was Tavistock had done they had Operation Phoenix, where they re-stratified and restructured,
So
and
they had
then
one in Britain first, and then we had ours in Vietnam.
yeah, they did it in Tavistock first. It was called
Yeah, that
and it's
Anglo
on their
network.
website. It's on their website. It's called Operation Phoenix. It's also in this book of their own publishing
Wait, Game B
called The
was going to be
100 Year.
rising from the ashes as well, wasn't
Yes.
it?
Game B, sort of. So that's how I found Game B, because Brett Weinstein did his Rescue the Republic speech. And at the end of the speech, he spent 5 minutes talking about how we have to phoenix the Republic to save the West. And I was just so floored by that
Mm.
that I started doing research on him. And I saw that just right on his Twitter handle, it says Game B. And I said, what on earth is Game B? And that's when I went down that rabbit hole of Game B. But Game B is essentially a merger of these David Temple inspired Barbara Marx Hubbard people,
Who is
conscious
she again? Barbara
evolution.
Marx Hubbard. I keep hearing her name pop up in many things,
She
but
was one
why?
of the founders of conscious evolution.
Is
And
that
she was
Echelon Institute or whatever? The
no, she's adjacent to Esalen
Okay.
Institute. She was inspired by people like Abraham Maslow, who taught her things about psyche and networking, which she said was better than sex. Psyche and networking she called it supra sex. So yeah, she was all about synchronicity and synergy and syntony.
Mhm.
But yes, she inspired people like Zach Stein and Mark Gaffney, and they are two-thirds. The other third is Kenneth Wilbur, and they are the triad makes the David Temple. The irony of David Temple is they published this manifesto called First Principles, First Values of Evolving Perennialism, the 42 Propositions on Cosmoerotic Humanism, and the irony is
Cosmoerotic, did you say?
cosmoerotic humanism.
What does that mean?
So it's about anthro-ontology. So that's why I say it's ironic, because they chose this name, David Temple, saying that they would not have any hubris, but they rewrote the anthropology of humans, and there's nothing
What's
hubristic about
hubris?
that or
Well,
anything.
then name one thing hubris. Point to the hubris in that. All right.
Yeah. Uh,
Okay.
yeah, we'll leave you with that.
What the fuck? Um,
But yeah, so that's how I found the Game B. So it's kind of they were two groups and they converged. They did merge. Essentially Andrew Cohen, who wrote a white paper called Manifest Nirvana. And he wrote a white paper basically stipulating what I had always theorized. I used to call the intellectual dark web an influence operation for Game B. He essentially said that it was a, crucible seeding ground. He didn't use the word influence operation.
a
Uh,
crucible seeding ground. The
yeah,
fuck does that mean? An
it's
operation?
an influence operation. He was just much more diplomatic about it. But he said that the intellectual dark web did spawn the intellectual deep web, which was rebel wisdom, which was definitely a Game B
Mhm.
milieu. And that was David Fuller, who used to work for the BBC. I can't prove that he's intelligence, but they have a historic connection, so that's
Yeah,
interesting.
they should all have to prove they're not intelligence. We just had
Uh,
Deborah Jaffe on my other show. Her dad, Sam Jaffe from ABC News, was like a Manchurian candidate guy. You
oh
know,
yeah.
spy plane that Gary Powers that got shot down over Soviet Union. So her
Oh
dad's
yeah.
a CIA guy posing, or he's a reporter, but he's also CIA. They all are. They're all Mockingbird at this time, and he's banging the guy's wife because Gary Powers was gay, and he was supposed to kill himself when he crashed, but he didn't. And I was like, well, how do they do it? And she goes, oh, they had this coin. I guess there's a museum of it. His son has a museum. It's like a quarter with a little needle in it that you inject yourself with cyanide. Is how. So I was like, what? How would they do it? Is it like a pill or something? But that's a
Yeah.
museum of spycraft thing. A little guy, he didn't use it. So it was this whole fucking thing. And then her dad was accused of being a double agent, but he had been traumatized in the Korean War, and he had been molested, and he was a perfect candidate, and he had
Well,
an eidetic memory.
that's what, yeah, I mean, that is what Tavistock mastered, right? They took John Rawling Rees was shaping psychiatry by war. So, they did all these studies on how you could use, essentially to figure out what the breaking points were. But as Auguste Comte, who was the secretary, the student of Saint Simon, said, if you, what you can predict, you can control. You study so you can predict, and then what you predict, you can control.
Hmm.
That's essentially what it gives the ability to do. So I wouldn't argue that Tavistock was doing the controlling. What they did is they provided all the tools for later intelligence, and they did work with intelligence, right? They created the War Office selection boards, which were a recruitment process for, officers,
Hmm.
intelligence officers, military officers. I can't prove this either, but the Meister Rascals document that you can pull down off the CIA looks like it was, drafted from those War Office Selection Board. They do say that it came out of the OSS, which
Yeah,
was,
doesn't all of
working
it
with
come out of that?
what?
All of it comes out of OSS. I thought. I thought that's what OSS is. Is that with
Well,
the
the
initial?
the OSS was the initial CIA, but I'm saying the War Office Selection Boards were Tavistock working with the
Was that the
MI6, MI5.
Anglo-American network or whatever? That the OSS wasn't that directly connected because they're all that. That's
Well, they do have reciprocity, right, as part
yeah.
of the Five Eyes. So that's my theory, is that they did get it from. It looks like they're using those tactics, which Wilfred Bion was studying the leaderless groups as how you could get, uh,
Uh
organize the
huh.
cohesion groups. Yeah,
Did you read that Zerbigniew Brzezinski coming technotronic state where he describes the world of influencers
yeah.
almost to a T? It's
Well, Tavistock created the socio-technical systems, which is what social media is.
oh, it's better than sex. I say you make networks.
It's super sex.
It's like
Yeah.
it's the ultimate gooning. All right, I got. I know I kept Mark too long, but this is
Yes.
one of the most fascinating ones, Derp and Curbs I've had yet. So thank you for doing it again, the third time.
You're
Fucking
welcome.
crazy. It
Thank
took this many
you.
times to get it down. All
Yeah,
right.
so I'll just tell people they can get the book on Amazon. So it's The Final Betrayal: How Technocracy Destroyed America. It's also on technocracy.news. If you want to buy more than one copy, you'll get a discount for even two copies on
Yeah,
technocracy.news.
read it around a flame in a barrel when you're in a mandatory blackout because the AI center needs all the power and water. And you and your family can huddle around the fire and read this book and see why you deserve to be made
It's a
into beef
super
jerky.
short book,
No, it
and
is not.
the audio. Yeah, no, we're not doing satanic rituals with this book. This audio is only 3.5 hours. There is an audio. It was done by a human, not an AI.
Oh,
Uh,
that's good. Because I hate when they have an AI. I mean, I'll listen to it, but it
yeah.
sucks, man.
I know. So you can also find my all the like a bunch of the articles I've mentioned on my Substack, and that's Courtenay Turner.substack.com.
Courtney
Courtenay.
Turner.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much, Courtney.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, he's got derp, so I don't know